I stood there, the weight of my cane heavier than it had ever been, as my son's words sliced through the air. That's her whole value now, I swallowed, trying to ignore the sting, but it lingered, cold and sharp. After everything I had done for him, this was how he saw me, so I did what I had to. I walked straight into court and erased him from my life. Wait, before we go any further, I gotta ask, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. The roast was overcooked. Clara had felt it in the resistance of the carving knife, dry, stringy. Too long in the oven while she was distracted trying to find the good silver. She'd wanted the meal to feel like tradition, even if it was just the four of them now, even if tradition meant Ethan arriving 40 minutes late, and Tara complaining that the mashed potatoes could use more flavor. Clara set down the last plate with a slight wince, the weight shifting wrong on her healing hip. She gripped the cane tighter for balance, then sank into her chair with practiced control. Across the table, Maya offered a small, encouraging smile. The girl had a quiet way of reading tension, just like Clara had when she was 17. I remember when Mom used to host 20 people in this house, Ethan said, swirling his wine as if he'd earned it. You'd never know it now, with all the creaking and huffing. Clara didn't respond. She reached for her water. Tara chuckled into her salad fork. Well, she did have hip surgery, Ethan. She's allowed to creak. That's when he said it, loud enough that the room shifted. That cane is her whole value now. The air tightened. For a moment, all Clara heard was the slow tick of the wall clock. Not even the clink of silverware followed. Maya froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. Her eyes flicked from Ethan to Clara, wide and disbelieving. Tara let out a sharp laugh, one of those forced, performative ones that fills awkward space, but deepens the insult. Clara pressed her lips into a thin line. Her spine stiffened. She didn't look at Ethan. She didn't have to. Instead, she folded her napkin slowly and placed it on the table like she was ending a polite tea party. I think the roast is dry, she said evenly, standing with care. The cane met the floor with a soft knock. I told you she can't taste right anymore, Ethan said, loud again, as if he hadn't just tossed a grenade into the middle of the meal. Getting old takes all the good senses first. Clara turned and walked toward the kitchen. Behind her, she could feel the heat rising in her cheeks, the shame blooming like a rash she couldn't scratch. She didn't trust herself to speak. In the hallway, a hand touched her arm. Light, steady. Don't let him spin that into a joke, Donna murmured. She'd arrived late, as usual, her entrance quiet and underplayed, but her eyes had missed nothing. That wasn't a joke. That was a verdict. Clara met her friend's eyes. For a second, something surged up. Rage, maybe, or grief. It was hard to tell where one ended and the other began these days. She nodded once. Later that night, after everyone had gone, Clara moved quietly through her house. It still smelled faintly of thyme and burnt meat. The silence was heavy, but not unfamiliar. She sat at the small desk in the guest bedroom and pulled out the leather-bound notebook she hadn't touched in years. It had once held lesson plans and seating charts, teenage handwriting scrawled during office hours. She flipped past the old pages until she reached a clean one. August 24th, 6:43 p.m., dinner table. Witnesses, Maya, Tara, Donna. That cane is her whole value now, terse. Ethan. She clicked the pen closed and stared at the words. He'd said it so confidently, like it wasn't just a thought, but a known truth. Like her body was a liability he had to manage. Like her life, her name, her legacy, had all shrunk down to the metal rod in her hand. Clara felt something shift inside her. Not a snap, not yet, but a recalibration. A slow turning of the wheel. In the corner of the room, Maya's bedroom door creaked open. "Grandma!" Her voice was soft, tentative. "Can I come in?" Clara turned toward the door, her notebook still open on the desk. She looked at Maya, her granddaughter, with her long sleeves pushed up, and her phone clutched tight in one hand like it was more than a device, like it was a tool. "I heard what he said," Maya whispered. "I think we should start recording everything." Clara stared at her for a moment, then nodded once. "Close the door behind you," she said. And then she turned the page. Monday, Clara's home, mid-morning. Quiet sunlight filters in through gauzy curtains. The house, mostly still. The next morning, Clara made her tea slower than usual. The house creaked in its usual places, wooden floors settling, pipes humming softly, but everything felt newly exposed. Like someone had pulled back the insulation. She opened the notebook again. This time, she gave it a title. Ethan's Words. She underlined it once, firmly. Then she drew a thin box beneath the heading and labeled 4 columns. Date, time, location, witnesses, quote. Her penmanship, once admired by generations of students, was still precise. Sharp, not fragile. She stared at the first entry from last night. August 24th, 6:43 p.m. Dining room, Donna, Tara, Maya. That cane is her whole value now. Clara added another line beneath it. August 24th, 6:44 p.m. Dining room, all. Getting old takes all the good senses first. The pen hesitated on the page, then kept moving. It felt like cataloging something toxic. Not memories, but evidence. By Wednesday, Clara had 3 more entries. Ethan had called from his car, Tara on speaker, clearly within earshot, to tell Clara she should let them handle the house paperwork, since numbers aren't her thing anymore. Clara had written it down, then quietly called her bank and changed her account PIN. That night, Maya knocked on her bedroom door carrying a mug of cocoa and her phone. "Grandma, I've been thinking about what you're doing." Clara looked up from the notebook, her reading glasses halfway down her nose. Maya sat at the edge of the bed. "I've got voice memos on my phone. It records pretty clearly, even in my pocket. So when we're around them, I'll just let it run." Clara blinked. "You do that?" "I already did," Maya said, a little flushed. "That call yesterday, when he said you were mentally softening. I had my phone on the desk." The mic caught everything. Clara reached for her hand. "You don't have to get in the middle of—" "I'm in the middle," Maya said gently. "But I'd rather be standing next to you than watching from the corner." Clara didn't trust herself to speak. She just squeezed her granddaughter's hand, then opened the notebook again and added a note. August 26th, 4:17 p.m. Phone call, Tara, audible. She's mentally softening. Under witness, she wrote, Maya, audio. Saturday afternoon, Clara pushed a cart through the local grocery store, favoring her right side as she moved slowly past the produce. Her cane clicked rhythmically against the floor, a steady beat that didn't need attention anymore. Tara spotted her first. She was in the dairy aisle, holding a tub of Greek yogurt, her manicure glinting under the LED lights. "Clara," she called brightly, like they were old friends at a church potluck. "Careful now, don't drop the milk." "Those bones snap fast after 70, she said it with a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. Clara didn't answer, just picked up a quart of whole milk and set it in her cart, her jaw tight. Behind her, she heard a small click, Maya's phone unlocking. Tara turned, spotted her, and her expression faltered for half a second. But she pasted the smile back on just as fast. Maya met Clara at the cart and said nothing. They finished the shopping quietly, their silence more pointed than words. That night, Donna came over with lemon squares and a thin folder. "I made you a sample binder," she said, unceremoniously dropping it onto the table. "This is what we built for my cousin when her daughter tried to file for early guardianship." Clara opened it. It was neatly organized, labeled tabs, statements, evidence, legal correspondence, witnesses. "You're serious," Clara murmured, flipping through. "Honey," Donna said, tugging her sweater sleeves up. "They're circling." Build the file before they build the narrative. Clara turned back to her notebook and copied 2 more entries under today's date. The last one read, August 29th, 3:12 p.m. Grocery store, Maya, recorded. "Don't drop the milk. Those bones snap fast after 70. She closed the notebook softly and stood. In her bedroom, she reached to the back of her closet for a cedar box that hadn't been touched in years. Inside were old bonds, birth certificates, and one worn key to a safe deposit box at Fifth Third Bank. She added the notebook to the box, then closed the lid. But before she turned off the light, she slid her phone from her pocket and texted Maya just 3 words. Next time, video. Tuesday morning, Clara's home, late summer haze hanging low outside, stillness broken by the mail slot clinking shut. Clara heard the envelope before she saw it, the soft metallic rattle of the mail slot, the thunk of paper sliding across the hardwood floor. And then silence again, almost accusatory. She shuffled over with practiced steps, cane tapping lightly, and picked it up. Hamilton County Probate Court Notice of Intent to Establish Caretaker Authorization filed by Ethan Jennings. Her hands trembled, not from weakness, but fury. The paper wasn't heavy, but it felt weighted. Legal, presumptive, dripping in presumption. Her own son, filing this without so much as a conversation. She flipped through the pages, her eyes narrowing with every line. Ethan had marked himself as primary family caretaker, citing concerns over long-term independence and diminished physical capacity. Diminished. He used the word twice. By the time she reached the kitchen, the kettle had started to boil. She clicked it off with more force than necessary, set the envelope down, and reached for her phone. The air around her seemed to hum, like something was waking up. The voice on the other end of the line at the county office sounded bored. "Yes, ma'am. I see the filing here, but no, it hasn't been granted." Clara closed her eyes. "So he filed for rights over my affairs, without informing me. There's no notarized medical statement, no physician's report, nothing supporting diminished mental capacity," the clerk said, her voice a bit sharper now. "Frankly, it won't go anywhere." "Not without proof." Clara straightened. "Do I need to submit something to contest it?" "No action required yet," the clerk replied. "But I'd document everything, just in case." "Oh," Clara said, "I already am." She hung up and walked straight to the dining room table, where her notebook waited next to the binder Donna had brought over. She added a new entry with deliberate calm. September 2nd, 10:14 a.m. Mail delivery, witness, none. Ethan filed for caretaker authorization without notice. Court letter attached. She slipped the letter into a clear plastic sleeve and snapped it into the legal correspondence section of the binder. The sound it made, sharp, final, was strangely satisfying. By early afternoon, Maya had returned from school. She dropped her backpack by the door and walked into the kitchen just as Clara was loading the dishwasher, slower than she used to, but steady. "You got mail," Maya said, catching the tension instantly. Clara didn't turn. "Your father thinks he can control what he doesn't respect." Maya crossed the kitchen in 2 quick steps. "What did he do?" Clara slid the envelope across the table. Maya picked it up, read the first page, and exhaled through her nose. "He's trying to move you out." "That's what this is." Clara looked at her, calm but flinty. "Let him try." Maya's phone was already in her hand. "We should scan this." "Back it up," Clara nodded. "Folder on the desktop. Name it Fireproof." That evening, Donna came by unannounced, a folded newspaper under one arm and half a loaf of banana bread wrapped in foil. Clara barely had the binder shut before Donna caught the look in her eye. "What now?" she said, setting down the bread and sliding into a kitchen chair. Clara handed her the letter. Donna skimmed it quickly, then let out a dry laugh. "They're moving faster than I expected." "Too fast?" Clara asked, pouring 2 cups of decaf. "Too sloppy," Donna corrected. "He didn't even attach medical documentation. It's a bluff." Clara opened the binder again, slid the folder toward her. "He's not bluffing. He's testing." Donna sipped her coffee. "Then it's time for a lawyer." Clara didn't argue. She looked out the window, watched a neighbor walk her dog past the rose bushes that Ethan once said were a waste of water for someone who barely uses the yard. The sky was streaked with coral, the kind of sky that demanded clarity. "You know one?" Clara asked finally. Donna smiled. "Oh, I know the right one." Clara nodded, her face unreadable. Then she reached back into the notebook and wrote something new. Just 3 words beneath the day's final entry. Next move, mine. Thursday, Robert Hensley's office, legal aid building downtown. Early morning haze still clinging to the windows. Clara stepped into the small waiting area just as the receptionist was turning on the lights. Everything smelled faintly of paper and old carpet cleaner. She wore her best wool coat, one button loose but pinned discreetly. Her cane made no apology for its sound on the tile. "Clara Jennings," she said, steady. "Appointment with Mr. Hensley." The receptionist smiled politely and pointed down the hallway. "End of the hall. He's expecting you." She found him in a cramped office filled with leaning stacks of manila folders and mismatched chairs. Robert Hensley stood when she entered, a broad man with silvering hair and sleeves rolled past the elbows of his checked dress shirt. His handshake was firm, but not performative. "I read the intake form," he said, waving toward his computer, "but I'd rather hear it from you." Clara eased into the wooden chair across from him. Her cane leaned against the desk. She placed the leather-bound notebook and Donna's neatly compiled binder on the table between them, like evidence in a trial. "My son," she began, "filed for caretaker rights behind my back. No documentation, no conversation. Just assumed control was his to take." Robert opened the binder and flipped a few pages, his brows lifted slightly. "This is organized," he said, tapping a page protector. "Quotes, dates, witnesses, supporting documents. That's rare." "I was a teacher for 30 years, Clara said calmly. "I know what paper trails do." Robert sat back, nodding slowly. "Well, he tried to play offense. We'll make him regret it." He pulled a legal pad toward him. "Now, let's talk strategy. Your house, is it fully paid off?" "Has been for 8 years." "Deed in your name only?" Clara nodded. "Good, that's leverage." "And the accounts?" "Bank, pension, IRA, all in my name." "I changed the passwords last week." Robert gave a tight smile. "You're 5 steps ahead of most people I meet." "He thinks I'm weak," Clara said, voice low but fierce. "That's my weapon." He's not expecting a counterpunch. Robert scratched something onto his pad. "We'll file a deed restriction. Prevents any power of attorney from transferring property without your express consent. Next, we update your legal directives and draft a new will. We make your independence ironclad." Behind her, the door creaked open gently. Maya peeked in, her school bag still slung over one shoulder. "Can I come in?" Robert looked up. "You must be Maya." She stepped in, quiet but sure. "I have recordings of what he's said, what he's tried to do. If you need someone to testify, if it ever comes to that, I'll do it." Robert regarded her for a long second, then turned back to Clara. "She's smart. She's brave," Clara corrected. Just then, Donna bustled in carrying 2 cups of coffee and a grocery bag. "I brought fuel," she declared, plopping one cup in front of Clara and the other in front of Robert. "Also, blueberry muffins." Because the revolution should have carbs, Robert chuckled as he opened the file drawer and dropped in a new folder labeled Jennings, Clara. "Mr. Hensley," Donna said, voice bright but edged. "You're about to help my friend make her son wish he'd learned the word respect before he learned probate." Robert raised his coffee cup like a toast. "Let's get to work." They reviewed the paperwork line by line. Clara asked sharp questions. Maya took notes. Donna read every word over Clara's shoulder. By the end of the hour, Robert signed the deed restriction documents and slid them into a mailing envelope. "Once these are filed with the county," he said, "no one, family or not, can touch your property without facing court." Clara exhaled slowly, as if she'd been holding her breath for longer than she realized. Robert leaned forward. "This is your life." "We're not just protecting it, we're reclaiming it." Clara looked down at her cane, then back at Robert. "Funny," she said, "how something they thought made me small might be the thing that gives me the most reach." Robert smiled, but before anyone could answer, Clara's phone buzzed loudly on the desk. She picked it up, frowned, and turned the screen toward them. A notification from her bank. "External account access attempt blocked. Name: Ethan Jennings. Maya's jaw tightened. Donna's voice was low, sharp. Well, looks like the next round just started following Monday. Clara's living room, mid-morning sunlight pooling over the table where signatures are made and names are erased. The legal pads were gone. The printer was silent. No courtroom speeches or recorded phone calls filled the air. Just the gentle creak of Clara's cane as she walked from the kitchen to the dining table, a fresh pen in her right hand, and her name waiting on the last page of a will that no longer belonged to anyone but her. Robert sat at the head of the table, sleeves rolled as usual, glasses perched low on his nose. Donna leaned back in the chair opposite, a witness form folded neatly in her lap, her expression unreadable but alert, and Maya sat beside her grandmother, quiet but solid, like a foundation brick pressed into place. "This is the final draft," Robert said. "Every name in it was placed with intent. If you're ready, we can begin." Clara opened the folder, her fingers steady. The language was clean, legal, cold in all the right places. Revokes all prior wills. Names Maya Jennings sole beneficiary effective upon her 25th birthday. Establishes library endowment at Walnut Hills Branch in Clara Jennings's name. Removes Ethan Jennings and Tara Jennings as heirs with prejudice. "Can you remind me what the no contest clause does?" Clara asked, even though she already knew. "If Ethan tries to fight the will in court," Robert said, "he forfeits his right to inherit anything. If there's any residual value outside of the trust, he'll lose that too." "The clause makes it legally self-defending," Clara nodded. "Good. Let it defend itself. I'm done doing that for them." Donna uncapped the pen and passed it to Clara. "Remember," Robert said, his voice low but unwavering, "once you sign, it's binding. And we record the witness acknowledgement on file." "This isn't a gesture. It's a hammer." Clara placed the pen to paper. Her hand didn't shake, not once. When it was done, she looked up at Donna. "I don't know if I should feel relief or regret," Clara said quietly. "Feel the ink drying," Donna replied, "and nothing else." Robert placed the file into a stiff gray envelope and sealed it with a thick strip of tape. "We'll have certified copies filed by end of week," he said. "You keep one here, and one goes in the safety deposit box." The original lives in our fireproof vault. Clara sat back, exhaled. For the first time in months, maybe years, she didn't feel outnumbered. "I was never afraid of dying," she said softly. "I was afraid of fading." Maya reached over and took her hand. "You're not fading. You're rewriting." A soft chime rang from Clara's phone, which lay beside her now empty teacup. BOA notification. New user access attempt denied. Ethan Jennings. She turned the phone so the others could see it. Donna didn't even blink. "Guess he just found out he doesn't exist in your accounts anymore." "Should we expect a tantrum?" Maya asked. Robert was already packing up. "If he does more than sulk, let me know." But people like Ethan rarely escalate with paper. They escalate with ego. Clara stood slower this time, but not uncertain. She reached into the hutch behind her and pulled out a checkbook. With one clean motion, she wrote a donation for the first $5,000 of her planned library endowment and handed it to Robert. He glanced at the check, then back at her. Clara smiled faintly. "My cane doesn't write checks." "My hand does." Donna let out a laugh, sharp, victorious. "Amen." That evening, across town, Ethan Jennings sat hunched in his SUV outside a gas station, staring at his phone with a clenched jaw and a hollow ache forming in his gut. "Why the hell isn't the bank showing me balances?" he muttered, jabbing the screen. Tara sat in the passenger seat, scrolling through Instagram like she didn't hear him. "You got removed," she said finally, not looking up. "That's what this is. She cut you out," Ethan scoffed. But it came out thinner than he intended. "No way she even knows how to do that. She doesn't even know what a PDF is." Tara gave him a long, measured look. "She has a lawyer now, Ethan." He froze. The silence in the car turned heavy, like humidity before a storm. "I'll fix it," he said, gripping the wheel tighter. "She thinks she's smart. We'll see how smart she feels once I file again. This time, with proof he didn't notice Maya's name had popped up on his daughter's call log. He didn't know Donna had a copy of his last voicemail, saved and time-stamped. And he didn't see Clara that night, standing by her kitchen window in slippers and a cardigan, watching the sky bruise with twilight, knowing the real storm hadn't even hit yet. Thursday, late afternoon, Clara's front porch. A quiet theft becomes a spark no one forgets. The sun had just begun to dip when Clara heard a knock at the door, not urgent but deliberate. When she opened it, Margaret Collins stood on the porch, her cardigan askew, breath short from walking too fast across the street. "Clara, I think I saw something you need to know about," she said, voice low. "Your daughter-in-law, Tara. She took something out of your mailbox." Clara blinked. "When?" "Just now. I was clipping the hedge, and she pulled up, got out fast, opened your mailbox, took a stack of envelopes, and left. Didn't even look around." Clara tightened her grip on the cane. "Did she take anything from yours?" "No, just yours. I didn't touch your box, so it should still be open. I didn't want to mess with evidence." Clara crossed the porch with Margaret trailing behind. The mailbox door was hanging slightly ajar. Inside, nothing. Nothing. The pension statement was supposed to arrive that day, and a renewal notice for her long-term care insurance. Both sensitive, both with account numbers. Clara stood up straighter. "Thank you, Margaret. This helps more than you know." Margaret gave her a sharp nod. "She's bold. Or she thinks you won't fight back. Either way, I'm happy to testify." Clara didn't hesitate. She stepped back inside and dialed the local postal inspector's number. She'd saved it months ago when Donna first mentioned how certain families had their mail tampered with during elder exploitation cases. She spoke calmly, clearly, logging the event. Date, time, witness name, missing items. A report number was issued within minutes. Then she hung up, grabbed her notebook, and logged it all. September 9th, 4:47 p.m. Front porch. Witness, Margaret Collins. Tara removed mail from box. Pension and insurance letters missing. Report filed. That night, Maya came into the living room still wearing her sneakers, flushed from cross-country practice. Clara handed her the notebook. "Read the new entry." Maya flipped to the latest page, eyes scanning. "She stole your mail?" Clara nodded. Margaret saw it. "I filed a report, but I want something more concrete. Something they can't explain away." Maya pulled her phone from her pocket and scrolled for a moment, then tapped to open a voice memo. "I didn't get the video, but I left my phone recording on the coffee table yesterday. Listen." She hit play. The recording was muffled but clear enough. Ethan's voice was sharp, anxious. "We need access, Tara. I can't push another form through without her social." Then Tara, cooler but dripping with contempt. "We don't need her signature if we make her irrelevant. We need her gone. That's the only way this works." Clara didn't speak, just closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. Maya paused the recording. "You said you wanted something they couldn't explain away," she whispered. Clara gave a tight nod. "Email that to Robert. Label it admissible." The next morning, Clara walked into Fifth Third Bank with a fresh folder in her hand. Inside it, her revised will, the deed restriction paperwork, the copy of the mail theft report, and a letter from Robert declaring her full cognitive independence under state law. The safe deposit clerk recognized her immediately. "Back again, Ms. Jennings," Clara smiled, upgrading the archives. The box's interior smelled like metal and old paper. She added the new contents, then paused. From her purse, she pulled out a second notebook, this one smaller, zippered, more discreet. She placed Maya's flash drive inside, zipped it shut, and laid it gently on top of the other documents like a final seal. Back at home, Donna stood by the living room window, watching the street. Her arms were crossed, her brow furrowed. "They're spiraling," she said when Clara walked in. That was a desperation move. "Desperation is dangerous," Clara replied. "And it's also stupid," Donna shot back. "They're leaving fingerprints all over the mess they're making. Clara opened the drawer near the hutch, pulled out a clean manila envelope, and slid a printed transcript of the recording inside. She sealed it, labeled it for court use, and tucked it behind the sugar canister in the kitchen. "If they're going to start reaching into my mailbox," she said, "I'll make sure they find something next time." Just then, her phone buzzed again. A new notification. Ethan Jennings has submitted a petition for legal guardianship. Maya appeared in the doorway, already reading the same alert on her own screen. Clara turned to her, voice clear and still. "Then we show them who's unfit." Tuesday, Hamilton County Courthouse, Civil Division, Courtroom 2B. A chair, a cane, and a woman no one expected to speak with fire. Clara sat upright at the plaintiff's table, her cane tucked neatly against her right knee. She wore a dark navy coat dress with a brooch Maya had given her when she turned 70, silver, elegant, and sharp like her posture. Ethan sat across from her, arms folded, jaws set like he was bracing for applause. Tara wasn't at the table with him. She sat 3 rows behind, fiddling with her phone like none of this mattered. Robert leaned toward Clara, voice low. "They're betting on frailty." "Let them." The judge entered, black robe, bored expression, stack of files he already resented. "This is the matter of Jennings versus Jennings. Petition for adult guardianship." Ethan stood before being asked. "Your Honor, I'm here because my mother's mobility has severely declined, and she's begun mismanaging her mail-in financials. We're worried for her safety." Clara didn't blink. She watched him like she used to watch students when they thought they were being clever in the back row. The judge turned to her. "Mrs. Jennings, do you have legal counsel?" Robert stood. "Robert Hensley, Your Honor, representing Mrs. Jennings. We dispute every allegation and are prepared to submit medical evaluations, legal filings, and first-hand testimony regarding the petitioner's motives." "Proceed." Robert handed the judge a folder labeled Cognitive and Physical Evaluation, Dr. Lena Cho. Inside, 2 signed reports, a fitness exam, and Clara's neurocognitive screening results, well above average for her age group. The judge flipped through the pages, brow lifting as he scanned the signature at the bottom. "Dr. Cho," he read aloud. "You're present." A woman in a white coat stepped forward. "Yes, Your Honor. I've been treating Mrs. Jennings for over a year. She is cognitively independent, physically stable, and fully competent. Her use of a cane is orthopedic, not neurological." The judge tilted his head. "So she's not mentally impaired?" "Not even remotely, Doctor." Cho replied, deadpan. Ethan's neck flushed. Robert stood again. "We'd also like to submit a character statement from her granddaughter, who lives with her." Maya stepped forward in a blazer Clara didn't recognize. Her voice didn't tremble. "My dad calls her a burden. He steals her mail. He talks about getting her out of the picture. I recorded it. I submitted that audio last week. This petition isn't about concern. It's about control." Ethan rose from his chair. "That's a lie. She's manipulating." "Mr. Jennings," the judge snapped. "Sit. Down," he did. Seething. The courtroom fell quiet. The judge flipped to a final page in the folder and sighed. No doctor, no documented neglect, no cognitive impairment. And frankly, this reeks of inheritance maneuvering. Clara's fingers laced calmly on the table, but Maya could see the tremor just under the skin. She reached over and touched her hand. The judge turned toward Clara at last. "Mrs. Jennings, anything you wish to say before I rule?" Clara stood slowly, carefully, without help. She met the judge's eyes. "I've worked my whole life to remain independent. I earned this home. I wrote my own checks. I changed my own bandages after surgery. That cane doesn't make me incapable. It just means I've walked farther than most." The judge nodded. "Petition for guardianship is denied. Mrs. Jennings retains full legal autonomy. Court is adjourned." Ethan stood, stunned. Tara had already slipped out the side door, her expression unreadable. Clara didn't move until the courtroom emptied. Then she leaned slightly on her cane and turned to Robert. "Was it enough?" she asked. Robert smiled. It was over before it started. You just proved it. As they exited the building, the sun hit the marble steps with harsh light. Maya linked arms with her grandmother. Clara inhaled deeply, the courthouse behind her, her son's signature failure trailing in its wake. But before she could step off the bottom stair, her phone buzzed again. A voicemail. Unknown number. Voicemail. 0:23 seconds. She tapped play. Tara's voice, breathless, cold. If you think today changed anything, you're wrong. You think Maya's safe? You think your will is bulletproof? You haven't even seen what we're willing to do. Clara gripped her cane harder. Maya leaned in. Was that her? Clara didn't answer. She just turned toward the street and said, "Save it." Because the next move was no longer defense. It was war. Friday night, Jennings' residence, 11:34 p.m. One thin wall, one thick recording. The night was unusually warm for September. Clara had just turned off the porch light when Maya appeared at the edge of her bedroom doorway, holding her phone like it was ticking. "He's on the phone," she whispered. Clara turned. "Ethan?" Maya nodded. "Speaker. I think he forgot the vents open. He's talking to someone. You need to hear this." Clara followed her down the hallway. Maya crouched beside the floor vent near the living room couch and turned her phone toward it. Recording app open, the red dot glowing. The voices weren't crystal clear, but the anger punched through the static. Ethan. "She thinks court wins mean she's safe? That we'll just give up? I'm done playing legal games." A pause. Then Tara's voice, flat, almost bored. "So what, you want to wait her out?" Ethan hissed. "No. We take the house. Force if we have to. She can fall down a flight of stairs and no one would question it. She's already..." Fragile Maya's hand trembled as she held the phone. Clara's mouth parted, but no sound came. She was frozen, not in fear, not anymore, in disbelief, in rage. The call went silent after a few more mumbles, muffled by distance, but it didn't matter. They had it. Maya hit stop the file saved in under 2 seconds. Neither spoke for a while. Finally, Maya asked quietly, "Do you want me to delete it?" Clara shook her head. "Email it. To Robert, to yourself, to 3 backup addresses, and label it attempted threat. Time-stamped." Saturday morning, Clara sat in Robert's office while Maya stood behind her, phone in hand, waiting to press play. Robert listened to the clip in full, then replayed the line. She can fall down a flight of stairs, and no one would question it. He didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. Then he stood, walked to his cabinet, and pulled out a different set of forms. "These," he said flatly, "are for an emergency protection order." Clara glanced at them. "You're serious?" "I'm furious," Robert said. "This is no longer a custody power grab. This is criminal intent. You're not requesting protection. You're demanding it." Maya handed over the phone with the file still open. Robert copied the file onto a secure flash drive, then looked up. "We take this to the courthouse." Now by noon, the restraining order was filed, reviewed, and signed by a county magistrate. Ethan Jennings was legally barred from approaching Clara's home, her person, or contacting her in any way outside legal mediation. A courier delivered a sealed copy to Ethan's condo within the hour. Clara didn't ask to know his reaction, but she imagined it. And smiled once. Donna arrived later with a full grocery bag of decaf, biscotti, and a new calendar for Clara's fridge. Each date marked with legal deadlines and self-care reminders in bright, bold Sharpie. "I brought this," she said, holding up the calendar, "because I figured there's nothing more dangerous to idiots than a woman with receipts and a schedule." Clara laughed, loud, real. "You're cutting them out," Donna said softly as she pinned the calendar beside the fridge. "One by one. And clean." Clara leaned her cane against the counter. Her walk was lighter today. Not younger, not perfect, but firmer, like each legal page added a layer to her balance. She opened her kitchen drawer, pulled out the manila envelope marked for court use, and slid the signed restraining order inside with the others. Then she took a pen, added a new label across the front, protection and firepower. That night, as wind tapped gently at the bedroom window, Clara sat up in bed reading when Maya knocked. She entered holding up her phone again. Her voice was hushed. "You need to see this." It was a screenshot, taken from an anonymous Reddit account, but the writing was unmistakably Ethan's style. The post read, "If you're elderly, parent screws you out of your future, is it illegal to fight back? Like really fight back?" Comments underneath were worse. One user suggested power of attorney fraud. Another, darker, "Accidents happen." Clara stared at it, then looked up. "What's the date on that?" "Posted 30 minutes ago," Maya said. Clara inhaled slowly, then nodded. "Then tomorrow," she said calmly, "we go to the police." Wednesday, Ethan's workplace, downtown Cincinnati. Concrete truths start cracking beneath him. Ethan stood in the elevator lobby, trying not to sweat. His badge wouldn't scan. The reader blinked red twice, then stayed silent. He jabbed the contact button on the intercom. "Yeah?" came the voice of Brenda from reception. "It's Ethan. My badge isn't working." A pause. Then, "You'll need to wait right there. HR is coming down, click." Ethan's stomach dropped. He glanced behind him. 2 other employees walked past, politely not meeting his eyes. Something in their pace told him this wasn't private anymore. When the doors opened, it wasn't HR. It was the head of legal. Across town, Clara sat across from Robert at his office table. The Reddit post had been reported, the restraining order enforced, and now, this. "I got a call from a compliance officer at his firm," Robert said. They were contacted by the probate investigator after the court flagged the guardianship abuse attempt. His name was already associated with other disputes. This tipped the scale. Clara didn't blink. "And?" "He's suspended." Pending review, Maya, sitting beside them, whispered. "He's losing everything," Robert nodded. "And it's time we take back what he tried to take from you." He slid a form toward Clara. "This is a petition for restitution. We'll be filing for recovery of legal fees, elder exploitation damages, and emotional distress. This time, it's your name on the offensive motion." Clara reached for the pen. Her signature landed harder than it needed to. In Ethan's HR conference room, the air was cold and full of silence. "We've reviewed the materials," his manager said flatly. "A court-ordered restraining order, a guardianship filing flagged as coercive, and multiple financial red flags attached to your name." Ethan opened his mouth. "This is personal. She's retaliating." His manager didn't look convinced. "So is Reddit," she said, flipping her screen. "You posted anonymously, but it's your email linked to the throwaway account. Company policy doesn't care if it's outside office hours when it reflects intent." He slumped back in the chair, stunned. "This is insane. I haven't done anything illegal." The head of legal slid a printed copy of the probate court's investigation summary across the table. "You exploited a vulnerable relative, filed without consent, tampered with personal mail, and may have violated wire fraud statutes by attempting to access her banking records. You've crossed every ethical line we have. I didn't touch her money. You tried." Silence. Then the last blow. "You're suspended indefinitely, pending formal termination proceedings. Security will escort you out." Tara was waiting in the apartment parking lot when he got home, arms folded across her chest like a locked gate. "You got fired," she said, not a question. "Suspended," he snapped, tossing his keys hard into the front seat. "It's all bullshit." Tara raised a brow. "Reddit post was you?" He didn't answer. She scoffed. "Christ, Ethan. You said we needed a plan. I made one. I said we needed options, not a restraining order and an HR meltdown. You're not exactly innocent here," he snapped. "You were all in when we talked about getting the house." Tara's mouth twisted, then flattened. "We were never going to hurt her." He looked at her, incredulous. "You think this is on me?" "No," she said, stepping back toward her car. "I think it's off me." The door slammed. At Clara's home, Donna clipped roses in the garden, while Clara sat on the porch with Maya, warm tea in her hand, court papers on the table beside her. They called it elder exploitation, Clara said quietly. Robert said it's the first time in his caseload he's seen a claim go from denied to actionable this fast. Donna snipped another bloom. Because most people don't come with organized evidence, a granddaughter with a spine, and an enemy dumb enough to write his own confession on the internet. Maya glanced at Clara. He called you worthless. Clara didn't flinch. He did. And now Clara reached for the court papers. Now he's bankrupt. Legally, personally. Professionally, Donna sat beside her and smiled. You didn't just win, honey. You outlived his story, Clara smiled back. But before she could reply, Maya's phone buzzed. She checked the screen. Her eyes narrowed. It's a group chat screenshot from one of Ethan's coworkers. He's been ranting. Says he's not done yet. Says he still has one thing left to use. Donna stood. What does that mean? Clara's voice was ice. It means he's cornered. She stood, lifted her cane, and looked out toward the road like it might bring the answer. And it would. Soon. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info. Sunday morning, a voicemail, an empty driveway, and a last attempt that lands like gravel in the throat. The first sign Tara was gone came when Ethan stepped into the apartment kitchen and found her set of keys on the counter. Just the keys. No note, no message, not even a slammed door to echo through the silence. Her closet was empty by noon. By dusk, her name was gone from the lease. And by the time Clara checked her voicemail that evening, Ethan's voice, raspy, small, was there, trembling on the line like a boy left behind. Mom, I know things got out of hand, but Tara left. She's gone. The money's gone. My job's gone. And I need help. I need someone. A long pause. You always said family doesn't turn its back. Please, don't leave me with nothing. Clara listened to the message once, then again, this time letting Maya hear it too. She didn't cry, not even close. He's alone, Maya said softly. No, Clara corrected. He's just finally aware of it. Robert's office was quieter than usual the next morning. The weather had turned gray, streaks of drizzle drawing faint lines down the windows. I want to know how tight everything is, Clara said, setting her tea down. The will, the deed, the trust. I want the locks checked. Robert turned from his desk and nodded. I've already filed a freeze on any third-party financial access, regardless of family connection. Maya's trust is protected under separate filing. I even added a clause shielding the library donation from civil contestation. You've built a wall I don't want a wall, Clara said. I want a fortress. Robert slid a folder across the desk. Then you've got one. Donna appeared at Clara's front door with 2 grocery bags and a copy of the Cincinnati Enquirer tucked under her arm. Did you hear? She asked as Clara opened the door. Tara's back in Kentucky. Packed up her mother's old sedan and left Ethan mid-lease. And rumor has it she called her sister from the road to say, he's not my mess anymore. Clara exhaled through her nose and let her friend in. They unloaded groceries in silence until Donna finally asked, You heard his message? Clara nodded. Are you going to call him back? No. Donna paused, closing the fridge door. That's cold. Clara looked at her, measured, deliberate. No, that's final. Donna gave a tight nod. Good. Just making sure it wasn't guilt sneaking in under the door. Late that afternoon, Ethan stood in the rain outside Clara's front gate. His shirt was soaked through, his face drawn, half the man who once mocked her over meatloaf. She saw him through the living room window and didn't move. He knocked, twice, then a third time. Finally, his voice cracked against the glass. Please, just talk to me. 5 minutes. That's all. Clara opened the door, but not the screen. She stood behind it like a verdict. I gave you 30 years, she said. You gave me silence, insults, and theft. I didn't know what else to do, Ethan cried. I panicked. I lost control. Clara's tone didn't rise. It didn't tremble. My cane, she said, has more value than your word. Because it supports me. It never lies. It never tries to take my name away. Ethan looked like he'd been struck. Please, I'm your son. No, she said. You were my mistake. Then she shut the door. That night, Maya watched Clara file the new protective clause paperwork into the fireproof binder. Donna poured tea in the kitchen and said nothing for once. He chose greed, Maya murmured. Clara didn't reply. She didn't have to. The house, once full of Ethan's sarcastic echoes, now stood sturdy in its silence, rebuilt with every signature, every locked drawer, every witness line. But just as Clara turned off the hallway light, her phone vibrated. She picked it up, expecting a spam call. Instead, unknown number, 2 new voicemails. She tapped to play the first. You think you've won. But there's one thing left that still has my name on it. The second was shorter, just breathing. Clara gripped the phone, the glow of the screen slicing across her face in the dark. And in her mind, a single phrase repeated like a drumbeat. What did he mean? ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info. Friday, Hamilton County Courthouse, Civil Hearing Room. 4A. The difference between a walk of shame and a walk of intent. A cane and a binder. The courthouse smelled of old polish and sharper things. Ink, sweat, nerves. Clara's shoes tapped the tile with rhythm, her cane keeping time. The sound wasn't weak. It was deliberate, measured, announced. She didn't ask for assistance, didn't glance at the security guard who offered to press the elevator button. She stepped into the courtroom on her own. Robert was already there, calm, focused, binder in front of him like armor. Maya followed just behind Clara, dressed in navy slacks and a white blouse, simple, clean, deliberate. Her phone was tucked into her inside pocket. Screen dimmed, files queued, and Ethan was there too, sitting at the defendant's table in a stiff gray blazer that didn't fit quite right. Hair uncombed, eyes alert but unfocused. He turned when Clara entered. He smirked, but it didn't land, because the smirk didn't reach his eyes, and the woman in front of him wasn't the one he last saw behind a screen door. This one stood taller, maybe not physically, but in every way that counted. Miss Jennings, the bailiff called. Please take your seat. She did. The judge entered. A different one this time. Female, mid-50s, eyes sharp behind frameless glasses. The nameplate read, Honorable L. Marcus. We are here today to consider matters of financial abuse, restitution, and personal protection under Ohio elder law statutes, she began. Robert stood. Your Honor, we present documented incidents of coercion, unauthorized mail retrieval, attempted fraudulent financial access, a failed guardianship petition, and verbal threats to the plaintiff's safety, all committed by Mr. Ethan Jennings. Ethan stood too. Your Honor, none of that proves intent. This is a family dispute, being twisted into something criminal. Clara stared at him, silent. She didn't need to speak yet. The paper trail would. Robert lifted the binder. Exhibits A through L are recordings, notarized witness statements, postal theft filings, bank alerts, and direct quotes documented in real time by Ms. Jennings, who maintained a detailed, time-stamped log from the moment this behavior began. He opened the binder. It was thick, tabbed, relentless. Maya stepped forward when called, cleared her throat once, and pressed play. The courtroom echoed with Ethan's own voice. We take the house. Force, if we have to. She can fall down a flight of stairs and no one would question it. Ethan winced. The judge didn't. Robert looked back at Clara and gave a barely perceptible nod. It was almost done. Then came Maya's statement. Quiet but surgical, she detailed the day the mail went missing. The moment she hit record on the floor vent, the fear she felt after the voicemails, the chilling message that still looped in her mind. One thing left that still has my name on it. When she stepped down, the courtroom was so quiet it sounded like reverence. Ethan stood, but his words now had the tremble of someone who knew the bottom had dropped out. "I was angry," he said. "People make mistakes. You can't throw a lifetime away because of anger." The judge didn't even glance at him. She turned to Clara. "Miss Jennings, you've heard the evidence. The law is on your side. Is there anything else you wish to say before I issue my ruling?" Clara stood, adjusting her cane. "Yes." She looked straight at Ethan. "You spent your time calculating my weakness. You should have spent it learning my strength." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Judge Marcus nodded slowly. "I will issue a ruling within 5 business days," she said. "In the meantime, all protective orders remain in effect. The court is adjourned." The gavel fell. Maya reached for Clara's hand. But before they could exit, the court clerk intercepted Robert with a folded envelope. "From the magistrate's office," the clerk said. "He left this in chambers yesterday. Said it was flagged." Robert opened it, his brow furrowed. Clara stepped closer. "What is it?" Robert looked up. "It's a property document," he said, voice low. "But not for your house." He turned the paper toward Clara. "A quitclaim deed, filed by Ethan, for her late husband's military burial plot." Maya gasped. Clara's cane struck the floor, hard. "What the hell is he trying to do now?" she whispered. Robert stared at the paper. "Claims something he thinks you forgot," he said. Clara didn't blink. "I didn't forget," she said. "I buried the right man there." She turned, jaw set. "And I'll bury the last lie next." Wednesday, probate ruling day. Hamilton County Records Office. Justice isn't loud. It's filed, stamped, and final. The room was quiet, not like a courtroom, but like a library where names were redefined in ink instead of blood. Clara sat between Robert and Maya, her cane resting gently against her calf, the soft tick of the wall clock pacing every heartbeat. She didn't fidget. She'd waited years. She could wait another 5 minutes. Across the room, a court clerk approached with a bundle of papers, rubber-banded tight. He handed them to Judge Marcus, who stood at a side table beneath a mounted state seal. She flipped through the top few pages, marked something with her pen, and turned toward Clara. "The court has reviewed all submitted evidence, transcripts, and the flagged quitclaim deed filed under Mr. Ethan Jennings." She looked directly at Ethan, who was seated on the far bench, alone. His eyes were hollow now, his face pale, his shirt wrinkled at the collar. He looked less like a man and more like something that hadn't been maintained, abandoned by the very power he tried to weaponize. Judge Marcus continued. "The deed was submitted without proof of inheritance, ownership, or next of kin rights. It is hereby voided and sealed." She turned to Clara. "The court further rules that all deeds, trusts, wills, and accounts associated with the name Ethan Jennings be corrected to reflect sole authority under Clara Jennings." Robert exhaled softly. A line that had stretched between Clara's shoulder blades for months finally loosened. Judge Marcus looked over her glasses. "In accordance with Ohio Elder Law and Restitution Code, the court hereby extends the existing restraining order for an additional 18 months. Any attempt to contact, harass, file against, or seek gain from Miss Jennings will result in criminal contempt proceedings." She signed the order in 3 places. Click, 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 then looked up, voice clear. "Miss Jennings, you are, by all legal definitions, fully restored." "Congratulations," Clara didn't smile. She simply nodded once. Because this wasn't about celebration, it was about reclamation. Back at the house, Donna poured 2 cups of tea and set them on the kitchen table like trophies. Clara sat down, folded the court packet beside her napkin, and stared at the line she'd wanted most to see. "All former claims to estate or title filed under Ethan Jennings are nullified." Donna leaned back in her chair and raised her cup. "Now he's nothing but a footnote." Clara looked at her. Footnotes serve a purpose. He didn't. Maya came in from the hallway holding a printed photo, one she'd found while organizing Clara's keepsakes. It was an old family portrait, yellowed at the edges. Clara's late husband in uniform, Clara in a wool skirt and pearls. Ethan as a toddler held in his father's arms. She laid the photo on the table, silent for a moment. "You erased him," Maya said gently. "Every legal trace." Clara reached for the photo and turned it over. She didn't want to see it again. Not yet. Maybe not ever. "I didn't erase him," she said. "I just corrected the lie." The wind outside was soft, brushing against the windows. A neighbor's chimes whispered faint music through the breeze. Clara sipped her tea. "I thought I would feel anger," she said. "And you don't?" Donna asked. "No," Clara replied. "I feel clean." Across town, Ethan sat in a coin laundry, staring at the flickering red letters on the dryer's timer. The room smelled like static and soap and the cold stink of failure. He had a copy of the court ruling on his lap, crumpled, creased, but not unread. A single line circled in red ink. All rights revoked. He stared at it for a long time before pulling out his phone. 1. Contact. 1 call. It rang once, then went straight to voicemail. He opened his mouth but didn't speak. Just breathing again, just silence again, just gone. That night, Clara sat on her porch, the court order filed and the house finally still. Maya brought out a box from the hall closet. "What's this?" Clara asked. "The last thing with his name still on it," Maya said, setting it down. It was the mailbox placard. Jennings, Clara and Ethan. Clara stared at it. Then, without a word, she picked it up, stood slowly, and carried it to the fire pit in the backyard. The metal hissed as it met flame, and the smoke that rose was hers. Monday, Cincinnati Public Library, Walnut Hills Branch. Not every monument is stone. Some are signature, some are silence, some are steel and oak and legacy. The Walnut Hills Library smelled like polished wood and old resolve. A new glass case had been installed near the front entrance. Clean lines, soft lighting, a brushed metal placard above it that read, "Legacy in Motion, a community story of strength inside it." A single cane, worn at the handle, scratched near the rubber tip, balanced carefully on a silk pillow. Below it, Clara's typed note, framed in matte black. Strength is not measured in steps taken, but in steps not surrendered. Clara stood a few feet back from the display, her posture straighter than anyone watching might have guessed. She wore dark slacks, a cream cardigan, and a pin shaped like an open book. Maya stood beside her, still holding the key to the donation lockbox like it was something sacred. The ceremony had been small, no cameras, just quiet clapping from 3 librarians and Donna, who'd shown up in a floral blouse and combat boots, because of course she had. Donated by Clara Jennings, the librarian had said when they unveiled the display. A symbol of dignity, defiance, and documentation. Later in the conference room, Robert laid out the final packet. Not court papers this time, not affidavits or protections or restraining orders. Something better. Legacy. "This is your irrevocable trust," he said, turning the first page. "Maya becomes the full beneficiary at age 25, as previously stated. The estate is locked. No future family claim can undo this." He pointed to the next line. "And the library endowment, per your wishes, becomes active next fiscal year. Literacy grants, programming, community lectures. They're naming the reading wing after you." Clara lifted the pen. Her signature was slower than usual, but sharp, decisive. Robert notarized each page, stamping the last with a final thud that felt like punctuation. Donna leaned over and tapped the seal. "Sharp to the last detail," she said. "I could almost cry, but I'm saving it for wine later." Maya smiled, but her voice was serious. "You're stronger than anyone knows." Clara didn't look up. "I don't need them to know." That afternoon, Ethan sat in a rent-by-week motel off at 71. The curtains were shut, the TV muted. On the table beside him sat an unopened credit card statement, 3 eviction notices, and a single bank statement with more zeros than dollars. He'd tried calling Tara twice. The calls didn't connect. He tried calling Clara again. It didn't even ring. He stared at a blank Word document on his laptop with the title, Personal Statement for Potential Employers. He deleted it. Across town, Clara sat on her back porch with the old notebook in her lap. It was nearly full now, pages dense with ink, tabs peeking out like feathers. Her final entry was brief. September 30th, 3:02 p.m., trust signed. Wing named. Maya secured. Legacy built. She tucked the notebook into the fireproof binder, now nearly too thick to close without effort. Maya helped press the cover down until the latch clicked. "You don't need this anymore," Maya said. Clara looked at her. "No," she said, "but I want it." They stored the binder inside the floor safe Clara had once refused to install. She locked it, then turned the dial one final time. Donna called that night from the car. "I saw a man at the gas station today," she said. "Scruffy, alone. Could have been Ethan. Could have been a shadow. Just thought you'd want to know." Clara didn't pause. "I'm not afraid of shadows anymore," Donna laughed. "Didn't think so. Just wanted to hear you say it." As night settled, Clara lit a single candle on her desk. The house was quiet now, but not the silence of loneliness. This was peace. Space. Room for memory without mourning. In her bedroom, the corner where the cane once leaned stood empty, not as loss, as proof that something had been carried, then surrendered on her own terms. A legacy wasn't just what survived, it was who. And Clara Jennings finally, irrevocably, belonged to no one. Except the story she wrote herself. Wednesday, early October. Some endings don't shout. They arrive sealed, folded, and ash-bound. The envelope came mid-morning, no return address. Just her name, written in a hand she hadn't seen in years, except on court filings and failed petitions. Clara turned it over once, then again. The paper was cheap, creased like it had been carried too long in a coat pocket. She didn't open it right away. She set it beside the kettle, made tea, stirred twice, and let the steam collect across her knuckles. Then, finally, she slit the seal. The handwriting was unmistakably Ethan's. Slanted, tense, barely legible toward the end, like he'd run out of confidence before he'd run out of ink. "Mom, I know I said a lot of things. I know I did things I shouldn't have. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just didn't know what else to do. Everyone was leaving. The money was tight. You were shutting me out. I panicked. I don't expect forgiveness, but I thought maybe you'd at least read this. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Even if you never answer. Even if it's too late." There was no date, no signature, just space. Clara read it once, then again, then folded it in half. By the time Donna arrived, the fireplace was already glowing. Clara knelt beside it, steady despite her knees, and slid the envelope between the logs like it was always meant to be kindling. The paper curled instantly, blackening at the edges, then surrendering completely. Donna didn't ask what it was. She didn't have to. She watched until the last corner turned to ash, then handed Clara the iron poker. "Best kind of reply," she said. "No ink, no stamp, just smoke." Clara set the poker down. He always did think fire was for destruction. Funny how it can be used for clarity instead. That afternoon, Maya came home from class with a flash drive full of edits to the library's donor plaque. She walked in quietly, noticed the fireplace still smoldering, and looked at her grandmother. "Was it him?" Clara nodded. "Excuses, mostly." Maya's face hardened. "He's nothing now." Clara didn't correct her, because there was nothing to correct. That evening, Robert dropped by with a slim folder in hand. "I thought you might want this," he said. "Final probate statement, every title, every trust, all signed, sealed, indexed." Clara flipped to the last page. A single sentence printed near the bottom. No additional claimants on record. Robert sat across from her. "Case closed." Clara nodded slowly. "Then this chapter's done." He looked at the fire, still glowing low. "Was it the letter?" "Yes." Anything you want me to act on? Clara shook her head. There's nothing actionable in apology, especially the kind meant to serve only the sender. Donna reappeared from the kitchen, drying her hands on a dish towel. It's done, Robert. Let it stay buried. Robert smiled faintly, just like a lawyer to offer a shovel at the finish line. Clara closed the folder, then stood. He thought my cane was my value, she said. That without it, I was just a frail old woman who'd lost her leverage. Donna raised an eyebrow. And Clara smiled. He was wrong. Later, after they'd left, Clara walked to the backyard alone. The leaves were turning now, golds, reds, that strange copper tone the oaks always offered first. She sat on the same bench where she and Maya had once read aloud from donor packets and trust, outlines. The stars began to poke through the dusk. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in a long time, the silence was not the absence of something. It was the presence of everything she had protected, everything she had kept. But inside, on the hallway table, just beneath the fireproof binder, Maya had tucked something she hadn't mentioned yet. A new notebook, blank, waiting, because Clara's story wasn't over. It was just no longer written in defense. Sunday, early evening, not a battle cry, not a victory lap. Just the quiet ownership of a life no longer borrowed. The framed print went up just after sunset. Clara stood on a step stool while Maya steadied it from below, the two of them squinting at the small brass level Donna insisted on lending them. The word was centered in thick black brushstrokes. Unbreakable. Simple. No border. Just presence. It had been a gift, delivered anonymously through the Library Foundation. Clara suspected Donna, or maybe Maya, but she hadn't asked. She didn't need to. She stepped down slowly, one hand braced on Maya's shoulder, then looked at the frame from a few paces back. It faced the front windows now. Anyone walking by could see it, illuminated softly by the lamp's glow. A kind of flag, but quieter, final. I like it, Clara said. Maya grinned. I knew you would. She bent to pick up a few leftover nails from the coffee table. Her law book still spread across the armchair, filled with sticky notes and underlines. Her first semester had started 3 weeks ago. Constitutional law, civil litigation, elder justice. When Robert had heard her schedule, he'd laughed and said, "Make room on the wall. She'll pass the bar before I retire." Clara believed it. You know, Maya said now, brushing dust from her hands. When I first told people I wanted to do elder law, they said it was niche, quiet. I said, not when you've lived through it. Clara smiled. Not when you've defended it. That's when the doorbell rang. Donna, of course, with a bakery box and a bottle of red. The box had a plastic label across the top. Custom message inside. I know we just did tea yesterday, she said, breezing through the doorway. But I was in Kroger, and they had a half-off sale on justice-shaped cake. She set the box down, pulled off the lid, and revealed a neat square of vanilla buttercream. The words were piped in blue, slightly crooked. 2 victories. Clara stared at it, amused. Not subtle. Subtle is for cowards, Donna said. This is for finishers. Robert arrived 20 minutes later with a stack of finalized estate confirmations in a binder no one had to open anymore. But he brought them anyway. Everything's secured, he said. Every clause, every account. The endowment's been funded, the deeds refiled, and Maya's trust is locked tighter than the Library of Congress. He handed Clara a leather folder embossed, with gold foil. Inside, the certificate for the renamed reading wing. Clara turned it over in her hands. Proof, she said quietly, of the life I kept. They sat down at the table, cake sliced, tea poured, wine breathing in stemless glasses beside the centerpiece Donna had crafted from clipped magnolia leaves. Outside, the wind tapped gently against the shutters. Inside, no one mentioned Ethan, not directly, until Maya said, "He mocked you. You know that, right? At that dinner, when he laughed at your cane. Like you were nothing." Clara didn't blink. "I remember," she said. Robert leaned back, watching her. He's gone now. Financially, legally, practically. There's nothing left to take. Donna raised her fork. Except lessons. And those are ours. Clara looked at the photo shelf along the mantel. It had been updated, rearranged. No more gaps where Ethan's pictures used to be, just new ones. Maya at her law school orientation. The day the library wing opened. Clara with the mayor holding the donation certificate. A life not rewritten, just claimed. People say you can't erase the past, Clara said. But that's not true. You can, not by forgetting, but by outliving it. She stood, walked toward the fireplace mantel, and ran her fingers along the edge of the photo frame holding the oldest image. Her and her husband, newly married, the world still ahead. He pointed at my cane, she said, voice calm, even, like reading the last line of a verdict, and said, that's her whole value. She turned back to the room, to Maya, to Donna, to Robert. But I walked straight into court, Clara said, and erased his name forever.